Thanks for joining me here in Ukraine for a few thoughts today. I was thinking about the horrible flu epidemic, the Spanish flu epidemic in 1918. There were just countless stories of tragedy and sorrow during that epidemic. And in Cleveland, Ohio, in a Polish neighborhood, there were many families who suffered death and loss, but there was one man named Ben who lost his wife and left him with several small children, a widower. And down the road there was a lady named Susan who also lost her husband, and she was a widow now with several small children. And I can only imagine the sorrow, the heartbreak, and the tragedy that those families endured, like so many around them. But a few years later, they met, and perhaps out of being in love, but also just because of the fact that it was important to have that support during that time, they joined their two families. They were married, and they had one more child together. They named him Leonard. And Leonard ended up becoming a decorated World War II veteran, an incredible, wonderful man, and also, by the way, my grandpa. And, when I think about sometimes the tragedies and the sorrows in our world that don't make sense, and how even in our day today, as we are facing this coronavirus and the questions surrounding it, I think about God's ability to take what seems to be all bad and bring something good out of it. I wouldn't exist today if it wasn't for the Spanish flu epidemic in 1918. And that's sometimes difficult for me to get my mind around because it brought so much heartache and tragedy and sorrow to so many people. And yet, the Apostle Paul in 2 Corinthians chapter 12 talks about his thorn in the flesh. And we know that was something that was painful, that was inconvenient, that was miserable for the Apostle Paul, and he many times asked God to deliver him from it, to take it away from him. And yet God didn't do that. We don't know what that thorn was. We don't know what it was, because the Bible doesn't say. But we know that God said, Paul, I'm not going to take away the thorn that you look at as so bad, as all bad, because I'm able to do something good through it. My grace is sufficient for you. My power is made perfect in your weakness. And so God was telling Paul that what he viewed as a thorn was actually a blessing. And I just believe it's so important for us to not miss the, believe it or not, blessing that this coronavirus and the circumstances surrounding it can bring to our lives, to our families, to our relationship with each other, with God, most importantly. Because this is a time that I believe if we react the right way, as husbands, as wives, as young people, as neighbors, as friends, as Christians, as church members, if we act the right way during this time, we can deepen our walk with the Lord, with one another. We've got more time with our families, with our spouses. I just believe that it's dangerous for us to miss the blessing because all we see is a thorn, an inconvenience, a tragedy, a sorrow. And so may God bless me and each one of you, whether we're here in Ukraine or there in America, to make sure that we don't miss out on the blessings that often seem to us to be thorns.